and then like, oh, you.
I will make you the host.
And then I can start up and then I can sort of, that's lovely.
And I will check to speaker view.
So hopefully I can share my screen now. That's not the right one. Oh, right, okay. Can everyone see this or see the screen?
No.
Hold on.
No, we just.
Sorry, no.
Look at that. Has that not worked?
No.
No? I can possibly talk without pictures, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit more. Hang on.
Oh, what have I done?
Oh, that looks interesting.
Sorry, that's me. I was trying to.
Oh, looks kind of exciting. Oh. Oh, I'm you now. I've just got you. Oh, wow.
Right, okay. So what's the problem with the screen sharing? Is it because you've logged in as me?
I don't know.
Can I just share screen for now?
Yeah.
Multiple participants can.
No. No.
I'll go to it again. What?
Yeah, I've tried that. Yeah. No,
it's not actually doing the share screen, is it?
it's not doing the share. Yeah. Oh, sorry about this, folks. I'm just trying to work out how we can work this out. This isn't going to be very good on a replay, is it? You'll have to edit this bit. So it's not quite as.
Click on this bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Did anyone see that now?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that button actually. Sorry, folks. That was my fault. It's such a long while since I did one of these talks. So it was Caroline who showed me. Actually, got to give her credit for that. Can you all hear me? Okay. Yeah. Good. So what I'm going to do is going to give you a bit of an update on the Hidden Herefordshire project and how it came to fruition and where it's going to, and what we've done the last year. I basically had this idea quite a while ago to do something to bolster up the Herefordshire Biological Record Centre and get more people recording. I mean, generally when I go out to groups, I talk to people and say, have you ever heard of the Herefordshire Biological Record Centre? And they say, what's that? I mean, even people who are interested in ecology and that sort of thing, or environmental concerns, they've just never heard of them. So it was this idea of trying to give them a better platform, get them a website, and within that to get more people involved in looking at wildlife. And obviously there's many reasons why we record wildlife and identify it. But really wanted to get, not just the usual sort of people, skill them up, but also to get out there in the community and do a lot of work in terms of, perhaps giving somebody the first chance of looking at something and thinking, wow, that's amazing, and I'm going to go out there and try and see some more of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually flick through my, because I'm lazy, but I'm going to flick through my Instagram feed here. This photo is basically one of the first sort of events we did. I don't know if anyone's heard of Barchesham Meadows in Hereford. I linked up with them to sort of do a sort of bio blitz of the meadows they had there. And I would welcome anyone to get down there and have a look as well and get involved if you're in Hereford. The part of the project was to sort of look and see if we could actually find some species that hadn't been recorded before as well. And this is probably the one of the first ones. So it's a wasp spider, and I don't know if you've ever heard of a wasp spider, but it's a pretty impressive beast. It's quite big. As you can see, it's yellow and black striped on its abdomen. And it's really a southern species. So a lot of these things are sort of creeping up northwards as the climate changes and becoming warmer. Because in the past, you'd only be able to see it in the sort of south coast. I've seen it in Dorset and places like that, and Devon. But it's quite a surprise. And this is actually a young girl who found this near the entrance, in fact. So it's absolutely brilliant. So not only do we get people out with nets and pooters and all that sort of thing, we actually record what we find as well. So we have somebody there, it's usually me, to be fair, is writing all this stuff down. Although I try and encourage people to look in books. I don't just give them the easy option of saying what it is. I'll actually say, well, there's a book there, or there's a guide there. Please come and try and see if you can do it yourself. So that's what we did. The wasp spider is probably one of the best ones we had in terms of the early stages of the project. And this is back in August of 2001. The project had about a 3-month lead-in time, 2 or 3 month lead-in time, just to get ourselves organised and book the courses in and that sort of thing. And we had really quite a few parameters to hit, I guess. First of all, we had to set up a website, and I'll show you that later, to get more people in. We also wanted to basically involve more than 2,000 people in a community basis. We also wanted to do over 65 adult courses for wildlife identification. So that involves looking at, say, wasps or slugs or birds or mammals, whatever it happens to be. Also looking at some of the more more obscure taxa that haven't been recorded at all, and including no one's really looking at spiders in the county. There is a county recorder, but I think he's very old, and he does Worcestershire and Shropshire as well, or something like that. So I'm just going to take you through, and some of the sites I'll flick through very quickly because they're not particularly relevant, but they do give a flavour of what's gone on. So if you are on social media, and I don't blame you if you're not, we have an Instagram, a Twitter, and a Facebook accounts, and you can follow us, all the activities, almost daily, really. Sometimes going through what we do. So obviously we have to collect up a lot of equipment. So part of this was really to bolster the capacity for the Biological Record Centre to, get equipment for people to use, and they could borrow it. So you could say, oh, I really need a stereo microscope. I'd really like one of those. You could borrow one now if you wanted to. Perhaps there's not apparent on the website or the details of it, but you can do that. We've bought quite a lot of equipment, a lot of guides. And when before this, they had pretty much nothing. So we've got a lot of literature, a lot of equipment for finding things. We've got back detectors and all sorts. And obviously, throughout the course of the project, they're being used. And we also got a logo as well. So I know we're quite a good graphic designer. We've got a lovely little logo, and she's very cheap. I'd say she's very cheap, but she is. But she's also very good. So it's a double whammy, really. It's brilliant. And we sort of chose, trying the species that were kind of like, some things that people could find quite readily, like a frog. Also some things that were quite unique and quite obscure, like the pseudoscorpion at the top left, which you can see. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a pseudoscorpion, but I've only seen one in my entire life. So they're pretty small. They're only about 2 millimeters long at most. So there we are. I'll just flick through these. I mean, I've always tried to sort of bolster up this sort of the more obscure taxa, like this fly here, Tachina ferret, which is a fly you can sort of see sort of nowish, probably still. I think I saw him on the garden recently. And another part of the project was to try and get people recording wherever they are. And I'll tell you a bit more about how you can do that later on. So it's not, you don't necessarily need to turn up to a course or look through a microscope. If you've just seen a chaffinch in your garden, you can send in the record. Or if you see something more obscure like this, that's absolutely brilliant as well. So I do get a lot of these things sent in to me, which is great. And I've always liked people sending, pictures of stuff, and I try and identify them as best I can. But I'm not an expert by any means. So I predominantly I do plants a little bit, and I do moths a little bit, and then I do a bit of everything else. So I suppose I'm not an expert in anything, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm a bit of an all-round naturalist. So I'm just going to flick through these. Far too many pictures of flies on here, isn't there? So we did another launch event in the North Home Centre. That's on last September, and we got about 50 people turn up actually, which is quite amazing. And then we've also did another day out at Fairfield High School. Now, usually it's primary schools that get involved with this sort of thing, so it was quite good to do some work with secondary school children. And I had a number of sessions throughout the day there, and we actually found a netwing beetle, which is lovely. Which is I think I might have a picture of it somewhere along here, but we'll have to see. And that's what sometimes people will do, or get people to do, because write it out on a piece of a paper, massive long bit of paper. Wallpaper is very good for that. If you've got some kicking around and you don't need it, write on there. And it just it's a nice visual representation of what you found, really. Now, I would say, of course, when I go to process this, which takes some time, may I add, there will be a lot of rubbish and a lot of replicates in there. And you can just read those. I mean, some of those things on there don't make any sense at all, or you can't put them down as a species. I mean, some of you can do. So we've got garden bumblebee, which is an actual species that people have identified through my tutelage, I'm sure. Kenji snail, that's a species. But, if you just put slug down there, it doesn't really, you can't really put that down. But from all these hundreds of piles of data, we will be sending all those records will go back to the record centre. So that's what we're trying to do. All those records go back, and then hopefully sometime soon, I'll show you on the website soon, you can actually get a list of all the things you can find in your kilometre square. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a little bit. So moths, we had a little part of, I suppose it's linked with the Green Network, a Moth to a Flame project, where we had a few moth trapping, so virtual moth trapping, which I've never been involved with before, but that was quite good fun. So we've since done about three moth trapping events since that date. Now, what we have done is build the website. So I'll just show you the website now, if I can. This might be more difficult than I can imagine. There we are. Oh. Maybe I can't. Stop sharing. Okay. New share. There we go. Now, I hope you can see that. So this is the website as it is at the moment. So you can see at the top, we didn't used to have a website at all. So it's very difficult for people to get any data or contact the Herefordshire Biological Record Centre. So Jane and Emma, they're very good, but they're just very underfunded, really, in terms of their hours and their, what they can provide. So we got a really good graphic designer in, give it a bit of a more modern look to the website. Well, it was nothing before, I should say. So on there, you've got a series of tabs. You've got events, which let's go to events now. Hopefully that can show that. So on there, it will detail all the courses that are coming up. Now, I should point out that if you're worried about, I know I could never go to anything like that, I'd be far too involved. A lot of these things are beginner's guides, and from whatever level you're at, we'll take it from there, really. So I have got some really fantastic tutors in to do this, and it's worked out really well. The only thing is, it's very hard to get tutors actually for this part of the world, because Herefordshire is under-resourced in terms of people, and of course you don't get many tutors in this area, so it's quite hard sometimes. But we've got a lovely springtails course coming up there. It tells you what you're going, then dragonflies after that, You can go scroll down, you can see all different things on there. I should point out, we will be putting together many more events for next year. So we've got about 6 on there at the moment, but there'll be quite a few more coming up. On there, you've got a little tab with Head and Herefordshire on it, tells you all about it. So you can just contact me, of course, and it gives you a few bits of data in there. We've delivered 36 workshops so far, engaged over 2,000 people. That includes 15 schools. We've amassed, it's probably about 2,500 new biological records since June last year. It's probably more than that, to be fair. And within that, I think there's some really interesting species. We'll go through a few of them in a bit, but you've got some things like the violet oil beetle. Now, that came up from talking to the residents, and they said, oh yeah, we've always had violet oil beetle. And they're a fantastic big beetle. They're absolutely gorgeous, but they had never, obviously no one had ever sent them the records because it didn't appear in our database. So that was really good to find. Got a picture there of an owl pellet workshop, which we ran, which is very successful. We had about 35 people on it. So everyone was taking apart owl poo. No, it's not owl poo, it's owl spew, I should say, and picking them apart and seeing what they'd eaten, which is great fun. We'll do it again next year as well. Also encouraging people to do a garden wildlife survey. So you can download the instructions there and fill all that in. It doesn't have to be, an extensive collection of beasts that you spent hours on. It could be just for one day, one afternoon. So anything we get hold of in terms of amassing the coverage in records in Herefordshire is all good. And you've got some lovely guides there that I put together, some common garden bugs and common animals and birds. If I scroll up, we've also got some great resources, and somebody said, oh, I didn't realize you had all these resources on your website as well. And we've got the Bat Atlas for Herefordshire, and we've got loads of things, whatever a taxi you're into, say you're interested in birds, we've got an external link that takes you to the best sort of website for looking at birds. We've got true bugs, crickets and grasshoppers. I try and trawl the internet and find out what the best place to find these things are. So on there, there's even one for scorpion flies, should you wish. So it's really, really good. What I would direct people to is the FSC Biolinks Resource Finder. That's really good as well. It gives you a whole list of stuff in there. You'll spend ages trawling through that. It's also got a services page that's primarily for the record centre, so you can actually request some data from them, and that will bring in some revenue for them. And it will give you a little bit of information about them as well. Right, so that's that there. Now, the other thing was, which you can't see because I can't see very well because you've got this little button on it. Button at the top right, if you ever think of sending in records, you can either just hit this button, which should take you to submit a record page, and you can fill in some very brief data, put in what you found. You can even put in a picture of what you found as well, which is very, very useful. Where you found it, any other detail, it might be, how abundant it was, or what life cycle, it might be a larva or pupa, any other comments, and anyone who's helped you identify that thing. So then just press submit button. There's other ways you can do it. You can also get a hold of an Excel spreadsheet from the record centre or myself. You can write it down on a piece of paper and send it in. That's another good way. What I do, actually, I use iRecord, but people on here might have heard of iRecord. Other programs are available, but what I do is I stick it all in there, and then you can get a download of that and send it to the record centre that way. So there's many ways you can do it. I mean, some people literally will just send me an email, and I have to sort of get the details out of them that way, and I'll send it through for them. But really, what I want people to do is to sort of cut me out of the equation a little bit, because should we not get any more funding after next September, that I won't be able to sort of steer people in the right direction. And this is what it's designed to do, really. So if I just go back to, where are we? Oh yeah, the Instagram feed, if it works. It doesn't seem to be. Why it's not working. There we go. Here we go. So go through this, and we'll talk about some of the slides on here. There's some very obscure stuff like this, like a nut tree blister moth, which is a micro moth, which is very, very tiny, and will mine the leaves of hazel trees. That sort of stuff is probably for the experts, but if you just send in a record of a peacock butterfly, that's equally valid. Now, what I've also been doing is using, I don't know if anyone's seen it, I think a couple of people on here have, it's called the Nomadic Museum of Natural History, which I've used in the past as a vehicle for showing people the wonders of wildlife and what British wildlife has out there, some artifacts from the natural world. So on there, it's got taxidermy, skulls, it's got a big rocky shore diorama. It's got little bits of information stuck to the side. It's got poo and fossils and all sorts of different stuff. And for some events, I've actually brought this along as a jumping off point to sort of then talk about, well, this is part of this. You could actually go out and find this as well. Go out and find some species. We can record those. So it's a really nice engagement vehicle, and I've used that since 2019, but it just meshes really quite well with the Hidden Herefordshire project, where you're trying to engage people. I sort of try and dress up as well as best I can. All right. So this is one of the first courses we did on woodlice, because I love woodlice, and only 3 people turned up. I think that's probably because at that point we hadn't really got the ball rolling, and then the numbers really picked up since then. Or maybe people just don't like woodlice, I don't know. I mean, ridiculous, really. So all our courses generally have been very well attended. We've had, here's another picture, sorry, from Methane Meadows, it's called, which is the event I talked about just earlier in September, called Northholme Centre. It's next there. It's an old dump site. Okay, we found lots of weevils that day. Weevils are lovely things. I'm just jumping through these. I was trying to jump into interest of a fungi course. Now we had some great fungi courses. We had a 6-parter from the county recorder, Joe, who actually volunteered at the Record Centre for a number of years. She would still, but she obviously, with COVID, it's sort of knocked that on the head, really. So we've had a really good fungi course. I'm generally trying to go through some of these records, and we've had records sent in. So this is a picture of Dave's badger, just looking very relaxed there, isn't he? Sitting on his garden wall. So it's a lovely thing to see. I think he feeds them, to be fair, but that's great. Here's another Fungus Day promotion. And these are some of the finds from the Herefordshire Fungal Group. So I've got quite involved with them, and they've been very, very helpful. And then we have got some really good groups in this county, like the Fungal Group, which are very well organised. We've also got the Mammal Group as well, which are in a bit of a state of flux. And the Bird Group are very well organised as well. But if anyone wants to create a group, that'd be well appreciated as well. It could be the Herefordshire Entomological Group. That'd be great. I'm sure I could help out. There's a lovely look at that. That's a beautiful find of what's called one of the Earth stars. That she sort of starts off as a sort of board and then splits open like a little flower. And this central sort of spore case splits and releases the spores into the atmosphere. And what will tend to happen is the raindrops will fall on the arms and bounce off onto that dome, and then it will puff out more spores. Absolutely beautiful thing. We had, yeah, there we are, more wood lice. What I'm going to do actually is just going to jump ahead to a little bit, talk about. So these are some of the sort of pictures I've got in here. There we are. We had this is a scene from our fungal course last November. There's a lot of interest in fungi. They're a very difficult group, really, but they do fascinate a lot of people. So we had a good attendance for that one. Now, in terms of the sort of demographic, what we're trying to do is get younger people involved. As you can see there, some of the people aren't that young, but equally, we want, perhaps retired people to sort of take on the mantle and go out there and be county recorders for certain things themselves. But in other courses, we have actually got some younger people coming along as well, so that's fantastic. I've also been involved in some recordings in churchyards. So the people from Lugwardine wanted me to help them out looking for wax caps in their churchyards, and we found loads of stuff in there because churchyards aren't sprayed with chemicals, or generally they've never been ploughed and that sort of thing. They do host really good suite of grassland fungi quite often, and this is certainly the case when we went to Lugwardine, and we picked up a few other records of other things as well, like birds and woodlice, but because this is November, I think it was October there, fungi were the main thing we found. So I'm just strolling through. We had a good bryophyte course, and bryophytes are something that are everywhere, and that's the beauty of it. You can see them everywhere. You don't need to travel hundreds of miles. You can probably see 50 species just in your own street if you went out with a hand lens. So you can start off by just saying, I want to learn just 5 species, and that's absolutely brilliant. You don't have to have any pressure of thinking, you have to learn everything in 2 seconds. So I'm just scrolling through. We've got I'm just going to show you this because this is one of the things that the grant has enabled us to find. We've actually managed to buy some microscopes very similar to this for use of anyone who wants to use them. Really, we use them on the courses. I use one at home here, so if I find anything, I will try and identify it with looking at microscopically. All right. And people do send in records all the time. Actually, it's picking up quite well. And we have somebody that sent in this lovely record of a water shrew. Now, water shrews are, they're aquatic species. They're the biggest shrew in the UK. They've got this wonderful black sort of top coat with this white underbelly. I think it helps them be camouflaged within the water. In the water column, they can't really see them very well. They're very, very under-recorded because they're quite secretive. They're quite difficult to survey for as well. I once put out loads of traps for them and didn't get anything back really. You have to look for their droppings. I think they'd eat something, had eaten all the food, but then hadn't laid any droppings, which is annoying. But unfortunately, this was discovered dead, and that's the problem with mammals, I suppose. You do see them dead quite often. This is the sort of thing that we really want to try and get people's interest in, sort of thinking, well, actually, I did see one thing like that. Or, rats, even take something like a brown rat. They are very, very under-recorded in Herefordshire, indeed, probably the whole of the UK. There's more records of hazel dormouse than there are of brown rat because people don't think to send in the record. Obviously, we know that rats are not rare. They're just very sort of under-recorded and not bothered with. So we don't get a true reflection of some species distribution. We had a lovely time in Lyd Arundel looking for harvest mouse nests. And amazingly, this doesn't often happen. We had about 31 nests were found, and everyone on the course actually found a nest, and that really, believe me, that doesn't happen that often. It's a really good site for harvest mice. They just need undisturbed sort of grassland, really, a long grass with brambles. They don't like sort of short turf or anything like that, of course, and they just don't like dogs, really. Anywhere where dogs are running through, you won't tend to find them. And this is a lovely site, and we've got another 3 or 4 sort of surveys done off the back of that, so that was really good, and really added to our knowledge of the harvest mouse population in Herefordshire. Now, I've linked up a little bit with the FSC's BioLinks project to sort of been on some of the courses, and lucky enough, one of the guy who leads it, Kieran, he leads the Earthworm Society, and he came along and did a wonderful course for us. We had really, I mean, it was about 18 people on the course. There weren't so many people the next day when we had to go out and dig for them. There was only about 5. I don't know why, and it was raining. Nevertheless, we did find about 24 species of worm, I think, over the course of the weekend. And really, before that, there was very few records, or a record for only one that the Environment Agency monitor. So it's this sort of thing. Things you find in your garden, very common, and very easy to find if you know what you're looking for. So I'm just going to show you this. This is a selection of the bones from our owl pellet course. So you can actually pick these apart and just, this is another great way of looking to see what the owl has eaten. We can actually record it, and amazingly, I think we found a dormouse bone in there, which the guy who's done it for 50 years had never seen. So that was amazing. I'm just going through a few more. I'll just show you this because this is just one of the things I kind of look out for when I don't know what something is in the field. You do unfortunately have to sort of look at it under a microscope. So this is a carabid beetle. We're trying to get into carabid beetles. I would encourage more people to do the same. Lysis ferruginous. You can see they're carnivores, but look at those massive mandibles there and the big eyes for hunting. And through this method, we found quite a few things. This is fun, picked up by small children, and then taken back and looked under with a really good way to get records. To show you this one. This is us looking for centipedes or millipedes. We had a double header. We had centipedes and millipedes, and we had a great tutor in Paul Richards who came along, and I've always been interested in, but he really did open our eyes to how amazing these things are. That are ubiquitous. They're found everywhere. We even had some younger people on the course as well, which is great. Scrolling through, we had a bird course in April, and we had a really great trainer in Dan Webber. We know him. He's from the Herefordshire Ornithological Club. Really good. I mean, opened my eyes because I'm not much of a birder. I've sort of not ignored them, but I look at other things because a lot of other people are looking at birds. But it was great. We saw a number of different things, yellow hammers, and some of the spring migrants. We even saw some sand martins later on, which is brilliant. So let's have a look. I try to promote things as much as I can on here as well. So we had this is a sort of standard layout for our posters. They all look the same, just so they're sort of recognizable. So you can go on later on, and if you like a course, you can either book through the website, or you can just email me and say I want to go, and that's fine. Even if they say they're booked up, you can always put your name down on a waiting list, and invariably somebody will pull out, and you can come along and learn all about galls or whatever subject you fancy, which is quite nice. We had a large turnout for our bat walk. I think we had about 30 people actually, something like that, 25, 30 people. Bats are often a good one to get people engaged with nature, really, because it's got something quite magical about it, isn't there? Being out in the night. peering into the darkness and looking into the nocturnal habits. It's wonderful things. I'm just going through here. Let's see what else we can find. We're lucky enough to have butterfly conservations. Martin and Peter. Peter Hall's the county recorder for butterflies, and we had a really great day. It was a two-part. We had a spring butterfly course and July one as well, and we found lots of other things on that day as well as butterflies. So I don't know if you know Hoffwood. I guess a lot of people will. It's a really lovely site for wood white butterfly, which is, it has a stronghold in this part of the world, as well as drab looper, which, as the name suggests, is quite drab. It's quite rare, and also glowworms as well. We're finding glowworm larvae there, which is amazing. So when we go out like this, I tend to record what we find on the day of these events as well, because that's equally, important. But what I suppose we want people to do is go away and practice and then send in records. That's the general idea. And again, it doesn't have to be, thousands of data points all over the county. It could just be stuff just in your garden or things you've seen. I mean, we had this record sent in by somebody that worked at HARC, at Herefordshire Archive and Record Centre, of a grass snake. It just shows, their sort of habitat improvements they've made there and keeping the grass long and that sort of thing. It's obviously worked well there. So generally people will say, oh, I've seen an adder, it'll be a grass snake invariably. You can tell, of course, by the yellow band on its neck, whereas, of course, the adder has a sort of the diamond pattern down the back. It's not really the right habitat for it anyway in Rotherwas. But there we go. Right, so we've got lots of other things to do down here. Let's go. I'll show you some of the things we've people send in occasionally. So we had this lovely picture of an owl. People send in this picture of a baby tawny owl. Again, that's a good record as well. We can record that sort of stuff. I'll show you this because this is a sort of another. I have a nice whiteboard which I tend to put out, and all the kids will draw on things. What they found. Obviously, some of them aren't particularly scientifically true. They've drawn a sheep there. I don't know if that was on the school grounds or not, but certainly something like a flatback millipede we did find, or green plant bug or leopard slug, and all this sort of data, I've collated it, and that's all gone on iRecord, and it will go back to the Record Centre at the end of the year. So that's just a little flavour of that. Let's have a look down here. Recently we did an event down in Belmont Country Park. I try and run events that are, in a spot that, a lot of people can get to rather than driving to somewhere that, is exclusive sort of thing. Try and run it where people are, where they can access it. So Belmont's quite nice. I don't know what that lad there is doing there. He seems to be upset by something. Maybe, I don't know what it was. Anyway, we also saw some terrapins there as well, bathing on a rock later on, including, and we also found a devil's coach horse beetle, which I'm sure some people will be familiar with. But we're doing a bit of pond dipping there. It's quite a lovely day. We also went to back to Garway Common. We did previously worked with the school. The whole school had come out and done a BioBlitz, done basically trying to record everything you can within a certain time frame. And it was in an afternoon, I think. And we went back and did another one with a community weekend, and we had 25 people there, which is really good. As I say, we've now worked with over 2,000 people in Herefordshire in some capacity. And that excludes the sort of people we worked with that come along to the adult workshops. You can see there that there's loads of really good records, hairy shield bugs and gatekeepers, and there's even bryophytes in there and all sorts. Absolutely brilliant. People often find their own niche and just decide what they really are interested in. I'll just show you this one. This is a nice record recently. we went up to where was it? It's up in, was it Webley or something like that? I can't remember. It's some. It doesn't say where it is. I can't remember anyway. Wigmore. That's, I knew it started with a W. Wigmore. Juniper shield bug. So that's what we found. Look, you can see the nymph. I don't know if you know anything about bugs. We had a lovely course recently run by Joe Botting. And you can go to his website, which is called British Bugs. So this is a lovely picture of a juniper shield bug. I think they feed on cypresses as well, not just juniper. And you can see the nymph on the sort of top part there. That's this final instar. So they go through nymphal molts. They molt their skins and turn into the adults eventually. And they look, sometimes can look quite different from the adults. And that, again, looking through the records, there's not many records of juniper shieldbug. So without us going out there, we wouldn't have found this sort of thing out. Again, we found slow worm as well, and black horehound, and lots of other things. Recently we had a spider workshop, and just before it, I had a little sweep around and found this lovely thing, which is called a gorse orb web weaver. This is one of the forms of it, which has this black marking on its abdomen, this big black spot on a white background. And there's us looking at spiders and having a good look around. We only found about sort of 8-9 species on the day, I guess, but some species are very difficult to identify down to species level if you don't look at their, a mature specimen, either a male or female. Coming to the end of this, really, I just wanted to point out some of the things I do put on Instagram, some of the things we found that might be of interest. So this lovely bug called Piliphorus perplexus is a myriad bug. Again, that was new to the county, as far as we can see for the records, as is the aphid, which is a red-banded aphid. I looked on the NBN Gateway, which shows you sort of distribution of species where they're found in the UK, and it had about 3 dots. So I think that's probably a reflection of the fact that not many people are actually recording, identifying aphids, to be fair, but it should be fairly common, to be honest, because it feeds on birch, and you can probably find it in a lot of places, I'm sure. So I don't want to waffle on too long. I know people have got probably questions they want to ask and that sort of thing. I'd just say that what we want to do perhaps going forward next year is trying to get more people from more disadvantaged backgrounds out, people struggling a bit, or people don't have the access to services or access to opportunities so often. They can come out and come out with us and engage with us. And I suppose we want to get more younger people, more younger people on our courses. Not that there's anything wrong with older people coming along as well. We want a nice mix of young and old, I guess. From a sort of community basis, we've already touched on over 2,000 people, which was our target. So we're already above that, which is actually fantastic. So any more work we can do there. So if you're involved, I know a couple of people on here listening have already said, oh, we do an event at a certain place, and we've sort of done it, and work with community groups to sort of do something on their patch. We can do that as well. You can also send in any records or any queries, of course. And if you don't know what something is, and you send a picture, go, oh, what's this? And I'll say, oh, what's a Roselle's bush cricket? It's fairly obvious one, that, but it might not be to you, of course. So, and once you've got it in your mind, you'll hopefully you recognise it for the future. Also, what we want to try and do is get more people doing the garden wildlife survey. So we've currently got 0 people doing that. Although people have sent a lot, to be fair, people have sent lots of records from their garden. It just doesn't, it hasn't been on a sort of form or anything like that. So there have been ad hoc records, I must admit. So, people do send in a few things, and really, really appreciative of everyone who's got involved, who sent in records, and I think that's just about me done. I mean, if you are on social media, please follow us. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or just have a look at the website. And if you're not even on not connected to the internet, I can send you a printed copy of the courses we're running. We can do it that way. That'd be absolutely fine as well. So there we go. I don't know what else to say really. I think I've come to my natural end, I guess. Is there any questions for anyone? I guess,
Well, thank you very much, Tim. That was absolutely fascinating. We have got a couple of questions in the chat. Michael Handley has asked, what's this spotted lizard or newt? He's obviously spotted one of your amazing photos. Oh, hang on. He's holding up a picture. I don't know if you can see that, Tim, on the screen.
I need to see the screen again. I've lost the screen. I need my technical support here. I know. Oh yeah. Is that it?
Did that.
Okay. Hang on. I'm coming back in.
Okay, you're stopping sharing screen.
Am I? Yeah, that's fine. I'm still low.
Have you stopped sharing?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Oh, there we go.
Right.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you. Yes.
Michael, would you like to hold your picture up? Oh, golly, a little bit. What about 5 centimeters, 2 inches, something like that, or a little bit bigger?
What? Oh, he looks like a cat. He looks like a caterpillar, doesn't it? I think. Yeah, it looks like a caterpillar or something. I think. Yeah. Maybe. Oh, it has got legs. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it has got legs. Yeah. Well. Yes. I'd say it was a newt. I guess it was probably a smooth newt or a palmate newt. Yeah. And that. Oh, it looks like that's a moth caterpillar, and I think it's either a grey dagger or a common dagger. I'll get back to you on that one, Michael. But I'm sure it's a dagger moth. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Tim. And just before I go to Jackie, who's holding her hand up, Maggie Setterfield has asked, can we do a bio blitz at Hunterton Community Garden After School Club, please? So probably what's the best is if I give Maggie your contact details, Tim, and you can speak. So. Yeah,
she's got my details. So yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah, brilliant. Let's do it this autumn. Yes.
And Jackie, did you have a question?
I was just going to suggest, Rachel, that if anyone else has got pictures, that when the pictures are being held up, you switch to speaker view and the speaker then unmutes so that they become a speaker, and then the picture will be bigger.
Right. Okay. I thought it was very interesting, Tim, the way you said that you've got lots of records of hazel dormice, but not many records of brown rats. And do you think that's because people just think brown rats are so common, nobody wants to record them? Or is it also related to how people perceive those animals, that hazel dormice are cute and lovely and brown rats are horrible and dirty and transmit disease?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's partly that. When we ran a dormouse course earlier this year, we got about 30 people there, and all we were doing is putting out dormouse tunnels. It wasn't particularly interesting, in terms of you don't see a dormouse in the day. It's really good, useful work, and the more thankful for anybody who got involved and then put out tunnels on their land and hopefully recorded some. But yeah, you're right. We needed, I suppose, there is an emphasis to go out and look for dormouse because they are a protected species and are a rare species. But because of that, there's been a lot of records sent in because they're a rare species and all the rest of it. we've got those, but we also just, yeah, we say we haven't got the rats because everyone thinks, oh, well, they are really, common. Let's not bother sending in the records. So, we need to send in all records for common things as well. At one point, we thought the house sparrows are really common, and then we went, oh, actually, look at the data, they've become less common. And in terms of, it sort of relates, I suppose, to someone like hedgehogs. We, in this country, we thought hedgehogs were quite common, and I think they probably are in Herefordshire and this sort of area. And the rest of the country, they certainly aren't. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of hedgehogs, certainly in my area, the Gone Valley. I think, they're quite a good population, really. But yeah, unfortunately, the rest of the country, it's not such a rosy picture for whatever reason. They do need to. There's lots of issues around that, as we know. So, yeah, sending in records of rats, folks. That'd be really useful.
Yes, your comment about hedgehogs ties in with Jackie's question about how a hedgehog sighting's going. So you're obviously seeing plenty in Herefordshire.
Yeah, I think so. And you can, if anyone's interested, you can go on to the Herefordshire the mammal group, and they've got an atlas of, and you can download a sort of map of where they've been seen. As a rat, God, yes, you can have a look at that, and you can get distribution maps for all of the Herefordshire mammals, which is really useful, and it'll sort of give you an idea of where things are. But yeah, we need more rat records.
And Glenn, you have a question.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, I was standing barefoot in my kitchen in the back of my house with French doors opening onto the garden, and a young rat ran over my barefoot in my kitchen. So, so there was definitely a rat about, and it tried to get in, sort of, looks at me through the back door, sort of, can I come in? And I say, sorry, no, you can't. So a very importunate young rat. So there we are.
Thank you, Glenn. Well, send in your record. Let me know where you are, and
I was a bit, I didn't take a photograph because I was more concerned with this rat standing on my bare foot.
Oh, I suppose this is important because obviously you can recognise a rat, and something like a rat it doesn't really necessarily need to be verified particularly, but there are of course some species that if you said you've seen a rare beetle, sure, that's a bit difficult. And for anyone out there, kind of, some things are going to be, I can be assured that what you've seen is that. I mean, I self-verified myself the other day. I was out running and I went, oh, there's a lesser spotted woodpecker. And I got really excited and I thought I'd seen this lesser spotted woodpecker. And I went to Bristol Museum and they had a stuffed one there. And I went, oh no, it wasn't that. It was just a greater spotted. They're quite tiny. So I sort of self-verified myself. They're absolutely minuscule things, aren't they? Crikey, I've never seen one myself, but you've got to be careful. Got to just give it some thought. But there are people out there to help, and a lot of people like the moth recorder. He's incredibly helpful. Sorry, I called the other guy. He's Bob Hall, and this guy's called Peter Hall. He even lives in Scotland, but he's so helpful. And there's lots of help out there. You've got a photo. Photos are useful. Of course, you can't do everything from photos, but depending on what it is. But yeah, ask for help. That's crucial thing.
So the records that people send in to you and to the record centre, would they all be verified, or would they simply be logged and?
If you put them on iRecord, there is a host of people that will verify them. So, say for instance, if you put them on iRecord, Stuart will verify them and tick them off as correct. Or if you've said you've seen a rare hybrid of a field, a Juncus or a Kerex, he'll go, I'm not so sure, and he'll ask you questions. He'll scrutinise you, which is fair enough because we want the data to be robust. You can't have people just making up things. They've seen a dragon or they've seen a unicorn, and that goes in the record. So, but some of the stuff perhaps isn't verified, and there is an issue because there's no one to verify it. You've got no one in the area who can say, oh, do you know what, that species of millipede, I'm not sure that is that what you said it is, and they're not out there. But the beauty of iRecord is that you sometimes get national recorders who will tick your things off. Like I send my woodlice records in, or my centipede records, and they get looked at by a national verifier who will either say, yeah, of course it's that, or oh, not too sure, or ask for more details and that sort of thing.
On the woodlice, earlier on in the chat, whoops, I can't find it. Somebody, was it Sarah, put in that she'd have gone to a woodlice course if she'd known it was going on. So I guess if you're running another course on woodlice,
that's good to know. You see, that was the problem. I think when we first started the project, the ball hadn't been kind of rolling and the publicity wasn't out there, so that was an issue. That's why we had 3 people. So but now, yeah, people do request other courses. We could do another grasses course. I think next year might do another bird course because they're very, very, very popular. So yeah, come along. And I'm doing woodlice for kids next year, so I'll see how that goes. Should be fun.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions, or have you got a photo of something you'd like identified? Can we put Tim on the spot and see if he can identify anything?
Tim, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
have you got an address I can send some photos to, but I have printed out?
Yeah, sure. I'll type in the chat if you want.
All right, cheers.
Yeah.
So I got one you'd probably be interested in.
Oh yeah. Oh, lovely.
Another tawny owl.
I put up an S box 3 years ago, and it was used for the first time this year
Oh, that's always good to
by
know.
the tawny owls. After they left, I went back up there to see what a mess they'd left in there, and out flew this pigeon. And do you know what it was? Fucked up.
Oh wow.
And it's nested in there, as far as I can think it has. I know it's nested in there twice
Right.
this
that's
time.
That's great.
Possibly for a third time.
Oh, brilliant.
But I know one thing you wouldn't like us doing. One of our biggest disadvantages around here is too many grey squirrels are spoiling the birds' nests. But we have had a cull, which probably a lot of your people don't like, but we had to have a cull. Between us, we had 50, and the lad over the other way had 80. So that was 130 grey squirrels. What damage do they do? We still got a fair few about, but the bird life was a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I work for the Royal Forestry Society, so I'm quite involved with the forestry sort of scene, I guess. And it's a huge problem. You walk through some woodlands, they've really made hell of a damage of a lot of the trees in there. They just need to be controlled. You're right. I mean, we can't get rid of them, all of them. That's certainly not.
They are the biggest planters of trees. Forget us. I've got 4 walnut trees growing in my garden.
Oh yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Plus,
That's nice.
plus a load of oak and that growing.
Oh, cracking. Yeah.
But I did give a load of photographs to a person that turns up once a month at Kington on a Saturday.
Okay.
From either Hereford Wildlife Trust or Hereford Bird Trust, I don't know. But I gave him a load of photographs. No, there was a pair of oldest couple, and I gave him the photographs to give to the young lad who'd only just joined about 3 years ago, but he hadn't seen the photographs I gave him.
Oh, okay.
So, if I give you your address, I'll send some of these to you.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, great. I look forward to that.
Well, I live way out in the countryside.
Oh, yeah, good.
The buffaloes and red Indians still roam where I live. Because our internet is rubbish. It's a bit better tonight.
No, it's all right. It looks all right. Yeah.
I live in a 4.5 acre common. Livingston.
I don't know. I've never been. So yeah,
It's
that's good.
out Amley, just a mile from Amley. Well,
Right.
a mile from
Right.
Amley as a crow flies.
Okay.
Mile from
Yeah. No, it's good, and that's really useful actually to get a spread of records from around the county, not just in one place where you get typically recording is you get a map of really where recorders live and not where the species actually lives. The more remote places we can get, more coverage we can get of Herefordshire, really.
We've got the Tawny owl nest around us, the barn owl nest around us, probably 2 pairs of barn owl. The green woodpecker, I managed to take a photograph of him this year. I hadn't seen him for about 5 years.
Nice.
So that's come back. But its original tree had fallen down, so I think that's why it might have disappeared for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's good it's back.
We've put up 22 nest boxes of
Wow.
all sorts, shape, and all sorts. Not ideal home they wouldn't pass ideal home, but there was all sorts of shapes. Well, I used a log of wood and took it out on a lathe and used those
Yeah.
Saved a lot of work.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. I won't say no more. Somebody else wants to speak.
No worries.
I guess Michael raised quite an interesting point there, saying he's in a very rural area, because you presumably want rural records as well as urban records to see the difference and to see what impact all this house building and so on is having on the wildlife in the county.
We've got 2 family head jobs, we reckon, around us.
Oh,
We reckon
perfect.
there's 2 families.
Oh, perfect. That's good. It's good to hear. Yeah, so you're saying more rural and urban records, any records really.
Yeah, but the rats were the problem around us, and the bloke who's got a small farm said, "Oh, we got super rats." And I said, "What are you doing about them?" He said, "Shooting them." And I said, "You let them get to that stage." So I got a cage trap, and we caught 9, and they were big, but they didn't go back out. They went back out dead like. No way I'm gonna let them go. Not where I live. I couldn't afford to let them go.
No, quite right. Yeah.
And the boy over the way, he had trouble as well, but he used the exhaust of the motorbike and put it in the hole and stopped the others, and that cured him, right? But he had to.
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
He wasn't doing anything about it, like.
No, you got to be controlled, haven't they? So
yeah, yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Yeah. Peter and Judy. Judy, you've got a question. You'll need to unmute.
Tim, I'm just wondering, sometimes there's quite a lot of talk about ideal landscapes, ideal environments for various animals. And I wonder if what you would say was the ideal environment for grasshoppers and crickets and actually how are they doing? Do we have plenty in Herefordshire, or do they struggle? I just wonder whether, the length of the grass and things like that, and when it's cut, has some bearing on the health of grass.
Yeah. I mean, this came up actually a recent course. We had a course on grasshoppers. We also had a course on shield bugs. And I suppose with any sort of conservation measure, what you want to get is a variety of habitats, a mosaic of habitats and stuff. And then obviously, clearly for grasshoppers, they need long grass. But I suppose the tricky thing is, of course, if you leave long grass, it will turn, process of succession, it will eventually go from scrub into woodland and, by grasshoppers. So it's about creating that mosaic, I guess. And in terms of what, grasshopper populations, crickets, I don't know. I really don't. I don't think it's been particularly covered in this county. When we did the course, we found a number of quite a number of species, 5 or 6 species: long-winged conehead, common groundhopper, the 3 common grasshoppers, and Roselle's bush cricket, oak bush cricket. But I don't know. If you go anywhere else, you'd find those. But anywhere we find long grass, it's beneficial for them. What came out of the shieldbug course, the discussion was, of course, we think about hay meadows and cutting them short, and of course, what that does have an impact on is having a short cutting regime. Is that you know, where do all those insects overwinter? Or there's a hell of a lot of larva and pupa there that will overwinter, or some of the adults will overwinter in a tussock of grass. Without that grass being there, that they won't be there. So I think this is the whole thing. You know, concentrating on the pollinators is very, very important, of course, and we need more pollinating plants and insects to go with it. But we also need those plants that will sustain the larval forms of insects, and that's often not thought about. Or, you know, even common plants like hogweed and nettle host a number of different, you know, invertebrates. Yeah, I walked past your place the other day, and you had a nice mixture of short and long. So well done to you for that, Judy.
Well, I just loved the thought that, you know, there are grasshoppers and crickets in there somewhere, and I just sort of worry about them generally speaking. So, you know, would be nice to sort of encourage people to keep some of their grass long, you know, that, you know, an area that's of long grass as well as short grass in their gardens if they can, really. Yeah,
it's incredibly important for a lot of, you know, moths and that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure, Judy, you know about the No Mow May scheme run by Plant Life, which is encouraging people to put their lawnmowers away in May.
Yeah.
And then they say, and then don't get them out again, basically, and have a, like Tim says, a variation, different lengths, short and medium and long, to give the maximum different types of habitat.
Short, medium, and long. Yes.
So Jackie has come up with a brilliant idea, which she's put into the chat. Should we have a Herefordshire Garden Record Day or week, like the Big Garden Birdwatch?
Yeah, I you know what, I actually had this idea myself. I felt like I'm poo-pooing Jackie's idea now. Oh, I had it before, and I had it, but it was a good idea. It was a good idea because I was thinking about doing it next year, maybe in May, and having it as over the weekend, perhaps, because obviously you do it for just like one day, it's a bit restrictive. So it certainly works for the Garden Birdwatch, doesn't it? Or the people were probably on here get involved with the butterfly count as well in June, July, August.
Yes,
again, it happens over a week or a few days. So it can be really. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, good.
Okay, well, we'll be happy to publicise that through HGN, through the website and the newsletter.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. And Maggie's just put in the chat that the Herefordshire branch of the Herefordshire Wildlife Trust would be happy to support that too, which is great. So we can get lots of organisations promoting it, and maybe it'll start in Herefordshire and go nationwide. That would be good to see.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Anybody got any further questions or comments or other brilliant ideas? One more question I had, Tim, which is not quite about identifying things. I've noticed just over the past week, our apple tree has gone into blossom, and I've seen magnolia in blossom. Is that because of that incredibly dry spell that plants basically shut down and now they think it's spring again? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it happens. Nature's quite chancy in that way. You'll sort of go, oh, well, conditions are right now, let's just go for it. And of course, it will soon be like, oh God, have that blossom blown off the tree and frozen off. So it's just.
It's just that very dry spell has sort of upset everything.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Plenty of mushrooms about though.
There are lots of mushrooms out there. But just right now, it's just very warm and it's been quite wet. So, wet for the last couple of weeks. Of course, we need a bit of drop of water, didn't we? But
yes.
Talking about my plum tree has come back into blossom. I thought, well, that's funny, but that's got to be down to the weather.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course, it won't come to much, will it? Crikey.
And the edges are growing a lot taller than they used to, and some of the leaves on some trees are a lot bigger.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
I seem to notice.
Yeah. Weird.
Okay, and Jackie's just put in the chat that she took good advice to make a wildlife pond, and it's really transformed the number of things that she sees in the garden. And certainly I think that is one of the best bits of advice for encouraging wildlife, isn't it? To put a pond in the garden, even if it's only a tiny little thing in a washing up bowl or a dustbin lid.
Yeah. True. I mean, we dug a pond in the first lockdown and in our field, and it's just amazing when I did a bit of a dip last week. We got loads of newts in there, so it wasn't much else. I think the newts are just eating everything else. So
I put a pond in as well.
oh, well done.
And the cat watches the fish, so I think she must have caught 4 of them. I did have 6. So and there's frogs are in there, I see, and you got the water boatman and the diving beetles are come in there all of a sudden, like.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take long.
I've seen one newt in there, but I mean, they say great crested newts are rare. That to me is a load of bull, because I got great crested newts around me, and I can go right in a lot of places.
Yeah,
they're not as rare as they think they are.
Oh, they're not rare from a UK perspective at all. I think it's just because they're just classified as rare because I think they're rare in Europe generally, but they're right. They're quite common, aren't they? Really. Yeah.
I have seen in the last month, I've seen more hedgehogs killed on the road than I have seen for a long time. But somebody driving along, if there's an hedgehog you're in a straight bit of road and he gets flattened, well, to me, they could avoid it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. But it sounds sad, but if you've got a lot of things being knocked down, you sort of know that the population is fair. It's got to be good.
It's got to be good. Yeah.
So it's sort of not a good thing, but it's good in that sort of sense of thinking, well, actually, there must be a good population of them at least. So, but we don't want to be squashing any more of them, do we? But,
no. I got one that sets the security light off.
Oh, nice.
Right, so I shall have to catch him and put him in a nail varnish on him and see how many different ones we can catch. That's the only way we've done it.
Yeah.
We mark him with a bit of nail varnish, different colors, and see what we got.
Oh, yeah.
We've had to set the traps for the only cage trap live bait ones for the rats lock. So we do catch a jog now and again. So even the next door neighbor, I mean, she's had 3 at the tray. Look, each in the meat like.
Yeah.
But she marks them with a nail polish to see that if you get caught again, it's we got
yeah. Good idea.
That's we're not out to catch them, but we're out to catch the ones that are doing damage to the wildlife rather than us doing anything to them.
Yeah. Oh, good. Lovely.
I've heard of people marking snails, but I've never heard of people marking hedgehogs.
No.
Okay, well, we're coming to the end of our time. We've got a few more minutes, but has anybody else got any questions? If not, it only remains for me to say a great thanks to Tim. It's been a really interesting talk. I'm sure we've all feel quite enthused to get out there and start recording what we see and start identifying things and just start really looking. I think that's half the thing, is just looking at what's around. But yes, it's been really interesting. So thank you very much, Tim. The recording will be on the website at some point shortly, and I'll make sure that the links to Tim's website and the Biological Records Office are also on there, so that people can follow those up if they're interested. And look out for, Tim, you can do your own promotion of your upcoming talk.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, if we have still got spaces in our Springtails course, unsurprisingly, but this Saturday. But after that, we've got dragonflies, and then the week after that, we've got snails at Queenswood. So look out for that. And just go on the website. There's loads and loads of stuff to book on there. And yeah, please book on.
Yeah, no, they sound really interesting. So yes. Okay, well, thank you very much to everybody for coming along. I don't know if you want to show your appreciation to Tim. And thanks very much, and hope to see everyone at another HGN gathering shortly, sometime in the future. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.